Okay, today we are playing a game on Rialto. We are in the Masters SR range, and we will be playing about a third of the game as Mercy, and about 2/3 of the game as Brigitte. And this is post-nerf Brigitte, so we can all be good and sad about that together. So, let's start the game. Defending first. So we've got... this would have been pre-nerf to Roadhog, though. Post-buff, pre-nerf. And I think... post-Ash nerf, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. There's been a lot of, like... fairly important changes lately. There's been a lot going on. Oh god. So, we've got 3 people on our team that are really good to damage boost, though. We got both the DPS are good to damage boost, and then Roadhog is also good to damage boost. Pre and post nerf, Roadhog's still good to damage boost. Arguably better post nerf, because hey, maybe he'll kill that guy when he wouldn't have done. Do you think they'll ever figure out Roadhog? Do you think they'll ever figure out? Here's what I would do, right? Here's my way to solve the problem, right? Because here's the main issue. We want Roadhog to kill squishy targets, but we don't want him to be very good at killing tanky targets, because otherwise he's bullying all quadrants at the same time, and we don't want that, right? We want him to really kill those squishy targets. How do we do that? We put some more damage on the hook. We put just enough extra damage on the hook so that the hook, with the scrap gun blast, can kill a squishy target. Or just under kill the squishy target, you know, if we want to be really conservative, I guess. And then, if we don't put the damage on the scrap gun, bam! He can't bully around the tanks as easily anymore. Problem solved. This was also on the console, by the way. Haha, got there in the end. So, Widow's dead back here. We can't really res Widow right now because some bad things are currently happening. This is the thing with Rialto, is we're pretty much just going to have to bounce back and forth across this open plane, kind of hoping for the best, because we're kind of getting driven out back and forth a little bit right now. And there's not a huge amount of cover on the first checkpoint, really. Reinhardt's over there by himself. We couldn't really do anything about that. We were pretty concerned with self-preservation at the time, so we couldn't really, like, go over to that situation and deal with it either. Hammond's over here, very annoying. Junkrat changed to McCree. Hooray, that's helpful. McCree is still good to damage boost as well, so nothing changed in that regard. We decide to pop Valkyrie now. It's fine. That's not fine, though. That one's not so fine. I wasn't really super happy to use Valkyrie because we were already pretty much losing that fight by that point. And Valkyrie is not gonna flip the fight back in your favor most of the time. It can, but it's not really gonna do that. It's more useful for gaining the advantage early on in the fight. Once you start losing the fight, it becomes less valuable. And, you know, sometimes it'll turn it around, but it's not usually the case. So we've entered the Brigitte section now. You know, we've got a fucking Tracer and a Hammond bouncing around on us, so it's not hard to see why we changed to Brigitte. So we pretty much, like, the way Brigitte is now, we can't really do much aggro stuff anymore. We're pretty much, like, fully dedicated to the bodyguarding aspect of it. We can sort of do this a little bit, but, like, it gets really scary, like, frontlining with Brigitte now, because oh god, he's not happy about that. She gets a little bit more fragile every patch, it feels like, but, like, just like, bonk him back. No, it was the next one. Bonk him, oh, and then he gets hooked right back again. He should have just been ripped in half by the sheer G-force of that one, really. Alright, so he's, no, we've got our shield bash up. Alright, great. I was like, he's dead. No, we can stun him. Of course we can. We're playing Brigitte. He died regardless, though, but hey. You can't say we didn't try. We could have tried to go for the Ashe on that one. Ashe is, like, mostly by herself right now. Tracer's over there as well, but Tracer's chasing after the Hammond. She's not really concerned with us. So we could have tried to go for the Ana right there. At least, like... see how healthy Anna is, because if we whap her right there and it turns out she's half health, she's not, obviously, we can see how healthy she is in the UI, but if we whap her there and it turns out she's like half health, it's not that hard for us to finish her off, so I would like to at least give her a single slap while we're out there so we can at least see how healthy she is, and then decide from there if we want to like fully commit to trying to kill her, because killing Anna, really good. Anna being the most important healer on the enemy team, usually. And your team, as well, you know. Anna's really good. Especially when they nerf the other healers, as well. Moira? You know. Moira feels really bad right now, by the way. Big fan of Moira. Really didn't like it very much. I was playing her just the other day. Really didn't like it very much anymore. It started to take, you know, those nerfs, they started to take a little bit. But usually the starting to take is not enough for Blizzard, so we can expect an excess of like 3 more nerfs probably before they stop. If they stop, because they're still nerfing Brigitte, you know. They nerfed her like a week ago. Who knows what at this point, it's not like, whenever a nerf to Brigitte would happen, I would be like, alright, they must be done now. But now, the new nerf happens and I go, well, what are they gonna do next, though? Right? Like, it feels like there's nothing left for them to take away at this point, but they always find a way. They always find something else to just scrape right off the top of her. Sometimes it's like 20% of her health. You know, why not? So, Hammond's up to no good. There's some mines in the way. We're just gonna get the fuck out of there. Alright, Roadhog's just gonna muscle straight through that one. Don't really have to worry too much about these mines. They're not really in any kind of, like, a super inconvenient place. They're a little too spread out. A lot of them are stuck on the walls and stuff, so not terribly impactful minefields. Just enough to make you think twice, pretty much. We sure did get booped over there. We've lost both our DPS now, so winning the fight suddenly became significantly harder. Basically just trying to make Hammond's life difficult right now, because Hammond's been a source of disruption. There's not a lot we can do about this one, though. Bob's on the way as well now. It is recording the desktop, right? Yes. Okay, good. I don't feel like we've gotten too much value out of Brigitte, to be honest with you. And it just feels like it's kind of hard to get value out of Brigitte in this kind of situation. Wow, we got pulled real fucking far. Because the problem is that, like, we don't have a shield, right? Because, of course, we don't. This was, like, pre-Roadhog nerf. So we didn't have a shield, they didn't have a shield, and they just have, like, a lot of burst damage out there. So it makes it really hard for us to do stuff. I find that playing Brigitte currently is only really, like, most of the time, it's justifiable if they have, like, a really flank and dive heavy team. Or maybe if you're on, like, a slightly more chaotic map variant, like King of the Hill. Because, like, anytime you're playing against significant burst damage as Brigitte, you just tend to instantly die when you're trying to do anything. So it's like, you can't do much aggressive stuff unless you're given really good opportunities to do so. So I find it's only really justifiable if, like, your backline is, like, really getting fucked up by, like, multiple divers and flankers. This kind of situation where it's like there's a Hammond harassing you and maybe one other dive flanker as well. It's like, yeah, that's annoying, but it's not really justifiable enough to change to Brigitte, because when you change to Brigitte, you really have a very narrow focus in what you're good at now. Like, you can't apply her like a bludgeon, ironically enough, anymore. You have to have a much more, like, precise reason that you're picking Brigitte, which I don't feel like has really been met for this game. Because I don't feel like we've gotten a whole lot of value, and it's kind of hard for us to do so. The most value we are getting is, like, making life difficult for Hammond, but does that justify everything else? I don't really think it does. Poor Brigitte. Poor Brigitte. I am, by the way, of the camp that thinks we should just change Brigitte, like, just fully rework her into a tank at this point. But I don't think that they will do that. I don't think they would dare remove somebody from the support tree, even to put them in the tank tree. I don't think they would dare. I think they would fear the community backlash of that too much. So I don't think they will do that. I think that we will just be stuck with pretty much worthless Brigitte. And if they try and buff Brigitte, people will be upset about that as well. It's a problem, you know. Anyway, Bob's back there, and that's really upsetting, and there's not a lot we can do about that. Sometimes you can push Bob into, like, a bad position for him, but he wasn't really in a position we could do that, so we just pretty much had to suffer the wrath of Daddy, pretty much. So, attacking round now. They didn't have that much time to spare, but Rialto, I find, is an absolute fucking nightmare to attack, so, you know, we'll see how it goes. So they still have the Hammond. They don't have anybody else, they just have the Hammond right now. Their team also right now, like, they've lost the Tracer since we changed to Brigitte. So now their team is, like, really long range, with the exception of Hammond and Roadhog. And, like, Bridget's never gonna scare a Roadhog, really. She's inconvenient to a Roadhog, but I remember when you used to be able to solo kill a Roadhog as Brigitte. It would take a really long time, but you could do it. That doesn't happen anymore. Roadhog's not afraid of us. So we're, like, only really doing stuff based around Hammond at this point, and I don't like it. I'd rather just be playing Mercy again at this point, pretty much. Mercy Ana being more or less the most value healer comp you get right now. If you want to run like the Lucio or the Zen, that's fine for the defensive ultimate, but I find Mercy Ana is usually the best you get right now. There's just a lot of really good people to damage boost. Damage boost is, of course, is still a very strong utility, and a lot of the most popular heroes right now are very good to damage boost, so... But defensive, and like, there's not so much for the defensive ultimates around right now in my experience. Like, you don't really, like, you still find, like, the Genjis and such, but I find that, like, the defensive ultimate isn't as important as it used to be, though is, of course, still a very strong utility to have. Defensive ultimate's still carrying that one thing where, like, hey, you would lose this fight, no question. Maybe you don't lose it now. You know, maybe now you actually might win. So Hammond's up to no good still. Stun the Hammond. Oh, he just basically got ripped in half. Ripped in fourths would be quite impressive by the G's on that one. We've got Rally built up. We could pop Rally right now. Yeah, with them being purple, I definitely want to pop Rally right now as well. Fight's still going. Again, Rally's not an ultimate that'll flip the fight back in your favor. It's no Uno reverse card. So it's one of those that you want to pop as early as you can to try and gain the advantage, because it's not one that'll regain you the advantage if you start losing it. Which is pretty much how the ults go, like, support-wise. They're either know you, or you use them to try and gain momentum, because they won't know you them instead. And you can count Orissa's ultimate in that one as well, because she basically has a support ultimate. If you put Orissa's ultimate on, like, Brigitte, that would make total sense, to be honest with you. But, hey, you know. We just keep taking things from Brigitte. We don't add things to Brigitte. We only take away. Oh my, there goes Roadhog. Oh, he actually did die. I didn't think he was going to die from that one. I thought he was just going to make it around the edge on that. Ooh, okay, he's sleeping. McCree's having a bad time. Yeah, you can push him into the doorway on that one. That's a bad spot for Bob to be in. Oh, they have the Tracer again. Alright, we now have more justification for playing Brigitte again, because now there's two people we can try and harass. I still am not, like, fully on board with it, to be honest, but it's definitely more justified now. We can at least try bodyguard Ana from the Hammond and Tracer, if nothing else. Plus, with the McCree as well, it does make it quite hard for Tracer to do stuff with two stuns running around. So, I don't really have much to say about the game, as you may have noticed, overall, except for these, like, you know, talks about playing Brigitte, really, because for the most part, we're pretty much playing Brigitte as you do now, which is, being really conservative unless you're given the opportunity to do something. Yeah. And I mean, we're in Masters SR, so this is how you would more or less expect it to be at this point, where all of the really big problems have been completely hammered out, and it's more about, like, the optimization stuff. Goodbye. I'll still nitpick what he did. He decided to slam into the ocean rather than just jumping, which made him take a little longer, which meant we got a little bit more damage in on him. But, hey, at least he jumped in. That's the important thing at the end of the day right there. He didn't drag it out, which Hammonds are fantastic at doing usually. So we've got Rally. We do only have to win one more fight to really win this point now. So we pretty much just want to pop it as soon as the fight looks like it's going to start. We hear Bob's on his way, so we pop our ult immediately. Stun Bob, or countercharge Bob. We've been nano boosted. Trying to chase around the 8 Tracer, you know. It would be good if we could, like, get into them and, like, really swing at them while we're being nano-boosted. Nano-boosted Brigitte is still kind of spooky, but their team is so long-range, with the exception of Tracer, that I think it was the correct play to, like, stay around and keep harassing her instead. And we did actually kill the Tracer in the end, so that's good. And now the Tracer changed to McCree, so we don't have to worry about the Tracer anymore. Hopefully we are checking that quite recently. We can't frequently. We can't know from the replay, but hopefully we're like checking the scoreboard frequently, or the tab screen, so that we can know if the Tracer changes, because that's important information when you're playing Brigitte, is like, who do I have to try and get, pretty much, or how do I have to worry about policing the fun of as much as I can. I'm basically going back to see if our shield broke. No, we just took it down. Not recommended. Like, Ashe is pretty on us at that point. Not recommended to take it down. We were really close to the corner, so I can see why he'd be like, we're good at this point. But it's just not worth taking the risk. So, unfortunately, we didn't get much progress made there. We do almost have Rally built up again now. Oh, here comes Bob again. Unfortunate. We took most of that damage before Bob had even actually landed. Bob just finished us off at the end. Whatever. We've still got time. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't even matter if we finish it in overtime, because this is a payload map, so we're gonna get our time extension regardless. And let's be honest, in this kind of situation, the extra minute very rarely matters going into the next round, because how often do you see it, like, grind down to the last second? It's usually like one team has managed to not tilt as much, and they ride, like, halfway through the course, and the other team can't capture the first checkpoint on the second round. That's how it always goes, let's be honest. Your mileage may vary, but that's my experience with the video game, which is, of course, the only experience that matters to me. Oh, we just took a lot of damage. We're good, we're good. We're, like, way off in safety. So, Rally's up. We're gonna pop it right now, because this is the last team fight we're gonna get, so we just want to pop it as soon as we can, right at this fight. The mines are really inconvenient. They're slowing our momentum. At least Rally's gonna stick around on people, you know? Hammond just fucking ate shit. Oh, that's amazing news that we had the ult stick. Damn, she's got another Bob. We could have done better on that one. Because that pushed Bob into a worse position, but it wasn't much worse. If we, like, swing... I don't think the pen's gonna work. No, it's not a display capture. If we swing just, like, a little bit more out to the side, we can try and push him into the alcove instead, so that he isn't, like, fully... Because, like, he can still fully see into the doorway from the direction we push him. Which isn't great. We could try and push him into the a little bit more into the alcove so he can't, like, shoot into the room fully. But granted, it would have taken us a little bit of extra time to do that, because we did try and countercharge Bob as well, so we didn't... If we had shield bash right there, it was really free. We just shield bash next to Bob and then push him into the alcove. We would have had to walk, which is more inconvenient from that position, because we would have had to cover a fair bit of ground. So we've gone back to Mercy. I don't think we go back to Brigitte for the rest of the game now. So they have got like a minute on it. You know I'm gonna watch that one again. You know, if I had not already recorded this game, I would have just slowed that one down and followed him into the fucking abyss, but tragically not to be. So we have two really good damage boost targets because we got two snipers right now. Ashe being the slightly better one to damage boost than Widowmaker, just helps Ashe finish people off more than Widowmaker. Both are still really good to damage boost, but Ashe is slightly better to damage boost than Widowmaker is. In my opinion, anyway. Your opinion might vary, because some people are like, oh, well, Widow's already so good, why don't I double down on it a little bit more? But I'm more of the mindset of I'd like to bring Ashe closer to the Widowmaker, who is already good. Ashe is also already good, but more already good, you know? So, they do still have the Hammond, of course. They're doing you know, this was pre-Roadhog nerf. They're doing the Hogball Torture Classic maneuver. We've got Valkyrie. We might as well just pop Valkyrie immediately. Like, I would have done it as soon as we had it built up. If we don't get another team fight, we might as well use it as early as we possibly can to try and get the advantage. They don't have an ultimate that we need to worry about with Valkyrie. You know, if they've got, like, Deadeye and you go really up, you end up being very sad sometimes. Yeah, we're going to go into the mine. We had to touch the payload regardless, so it's pretty much going to be that way. So, hey, they didn't get it. We didn't get it super far. We'll see if we can stop them. One of our boys has decided to play Sombra. They are, of course, going to be playing Hog and Ball again, so Sombra makes sense, assuming he can actually play Sombra. We'll see. Oh, they're running Sombra at us as well. We don't know that yet, probably, but we'll soon find out. So our Sombra's just sticking over here with us, that's fine. Their Hammond just ate shit, fantastic news. I think I just heard their Sombra try and hack somebody. So I think we might know now that they have the Sombra. Well, if we just, like, look at the scoreboard, we'd be able to see now that they have the Sombra. So Sombra is a good one to damage boost. Still, the Sombra does quite a bit of damage. So Sombra's a good one to damage boost, assuming you can get to her, which is usually more the issue with Sombra. We've almost got Valkyrie built up. Fight's still going on, but it's, like, close enough that I think we're justified in, like, saving Valkyrie. Because they are missing a couple of people right now. We can save Valkyrie for hopefully the only real team fight they're gonna get in the next, like, 20 or so seconds. So everybody's a little spread out right now. It's fine. I'm mostly just concerned about Ana getting got by their Sombra. We popped Valkyrie right there. I think prompted because we heard Sombra appear behind us, which is understandable. And the team fight is about to start regardless, so we want to use Valkyrie as soon as we can. Hooray, we definitely killed their momentum, or gained the momentum on that one. Now, what I am concerned about on that one is we used quite a few ultimates, because we ended up using 3, both support ultimates and Reinhardt's. So I'm a little concerned, but we do have the other 3 coming in as well. But their Sombra's about to have Emp as well, which is going to make life hard for, like, Reaper. So they've sent in their Bob really early. He's asleep. Our Sombra just used her ult. Their Sombra used her ult. That's not our Ashe. So we take out the pistol and start trying to finish her off. I agree. I think that was the correct play from that position. Especially with Ana being dead, she can keep the team alive for the most part. So, hey, we're looking good. Things are looking good. They're, like, rushing into touch it at this point. Their boy is here. Their Mercy's coming. Here she is. Who's that? That's their Tracer coming in, because of course they're changing to faster heroes now. It's looking good. I'd be surprised if we lost. Their Mercy just got her res hacked as well. Very unfortunate for her. So he's yeah, we're good. We're good. You know, we're good. We're good. They're just gonna 2 CPLs for a little bit, but we're good. We got him. We got him. So now I don't think I opened this ahead of time, but we do have stuff in the email, which is just as well because I didn't really have much to say about the game. So first up. Is Brigitte's ult utility a good enough reason to pick her over any other supports? In this game, I went Brig specifically because I wanted to shut down the ball. Is Brig the only good pick in this niche case where they have an unswapping ball? so we already talked about this a little bit. Brig is, like, pretty much the best support you get as far as, like, stopping ball. But, Lucio also works because the boop is a good utility for slowing down ball, and the boop is up very frequently, so you pretty much always have it because you can, displace Hammond when he's trying to pile drive, and when he's trying to, like, roll in at him, you can boop him to, like, slow his momentum down. And then you also have the speed boost to try and help position people better so they don't get caught by Hammond to begin with. So, if you're just, like, if you're in the position where you're worrying about, like, ball and another diver and another flanker, I think Brig is, justified. But if you're talking about, like, just Hammond or, like, just a flanker, then I think Lucio is the better one to go to for the most part. Just because he has better all-round utility while still being able to deal with the Hammond situation. Brig at this point has just been so nerfed that I feel like it's really hard to justify picking her unless you're in very extreme circumstances, pretty much. But I won't belabor that point more now. What should Brigitte do when the enemy is too far for her to trigger Inspire damage, but still poking? In the current DPS meta, where Mercy is really strong, I can't help but feel really pressured when the enemy hasn't even engaged. Yeah, that's like one of the big problems for Brigitte right now as well, is like she has been nerfed, but right now there's like a lot of long-range DPS, and there's not really much you can do about it. Like, if they're too far away from you to hit them, like, even with whip shot, you're fuck out of luck, pretty much. There's nothing you can do about that. You just basically have to wait for them to engage. The only thing you can sort of do is just be really conservative with how you use your repair packs while you're waiting for them to engage. But yeah, like, if you're playing against, like, 2 long-range DPS and they, like, just won't get in range of you while you're playing Brigitte, you're just shit out of luck. There's nothing you can do about it. Which does, just like you say, it's really hard right now with, like, the current, like, Mercy business going on, which is still going on, just nothing you can really do about it, unfortunately. And then, how do I rotate around an enemy and flail them into my team? I know you suggested I do that in the last VoD, but I find that hard to do in the scenario above. Yeah, it's hard to do in the scenario above. Usually, like, you're not, like, unless they're doing something really egregious, you're never really gonna be in a position where you can flail in, like, Soldier, McVree, even, like, people like that. You'll never really get them. You're more going for, like, pushing, like, the tank further into you than he wants to be. They're the easiest ones to do this to. This has become riskier also, since Brigitte is now way more fragile again. But, like, it's usually something you do to the tanks more than the DPS. It can happen, like, there will be times when, like, McCree is too close, Hanzo's too close, Reaper, May, who else, like, they're the only ones I can think of offhand. Like a Torbjorn might be too close to you. There are times you'll catch these people, but they're not really the ones you're frequently doing this to. It's more about pushing, like, the tank in further than he wants to be. Because if you can, like, stun Reinhardt, shimmy around him, and then push him into your team, it's easy to, like, burst a Reinhardt down a lot of the time. As we all know, from the Reinhardt that charges in too aggressively, a Reinhardt being too far in is very catastrophic, usually. So it's more something you do to the tanks, the DPS, particularly with the ones that are currently popular. You'll not really be in a position to do it that often, but it will turn up. It's more of a tank disruption than anything else. Supports also, you're more likely to catch, like, a Mercy with this, or, like, a Lucio with this, because they're more likely to be hanging out near the front line where you're in a position to do this. Because as Brigitte, you're not really going to be, like, going in super deep to the enemy team. It's people that are, like, frontline and frontline adjacent that you get to do this to. There will also be times where a fight is kind of happening to you on 2 fronts, where it'll be a little easier to do. For, like, Rialto, for example, there can be times where you're fighting in the main thoroughfare over there, but then, like, this hallway over here has, like, 1 or 2 people in it. And then you might be in a position where you can get one of the 1 or 2 people in here and push them in, or you might be in a position where you can, like, go around behind people more easily in the main thoroughfare and try and push them into your team. If their team is, like, spread out more, it's easier to get into the enemy team and find the people that really don't want to get pushed out of position. But again, this is more of an outlier situation, really. It's mostly something you do to tanks and frontline. But like frontline, I'll say frontline people. Symmetra, that's one. Symmetra is really likely to be too close, and you can push her in as well. Then, next up, follow-up question. How do I break that habit of flailing the enemy away? What I'm trying to do is kill the enemy, but the flail damage isn't enough. At the same time, watching them retreat and doing nothing feels useless as well. I mean, that's just getting used to the flail damage. Like, you do, as Brigitte, you do want to use flail to finish people off because it's the biggest spike of damage that you have, so you do want to try and use that to finish them off rather than whipping them to death, basic style. But that's just getting used to the damage on whip shot. You just need to be able to, like, look at their bar and go, it does enough to kill him now. As for, like, yeah, you know, it feels really bad when you're watching that guy retreat away from you, but you just kind of have to accept that he's leaving, because whip-shotting the guy, if it's not going to kill him, it does nothing to help you. It only helps him by pushing him further back from your team, right? So, it feels really bad. It doesn't feel good. But, like, you pretty much just have to watch the guy run away, because whip-shotting him, if it isn't going to kill him, only helps him. It might help finish him off if you have, like, a lot of long-range DPS on your team and you whip him, and he drops down to, like, 10 health, then one of your long-range DPS might now be able to finish him off just with a stray hit. That happens sometimes, but you pretty much just have to watch the guy run away, and it feels bad. It feels bad. Like, it's just one of those things where, like, whip shot when they're running away, it just doesn't help. So you just kind of have to... How do you break the habit? You pretty much just have to get in the habit of, like, mentally chastising yourself anytime you do the thing you don't want to be doing. And eventually, Blizzard Brain takes it in. But, you know, breaking habits is just really hard, you know. You just have to be, like, really conscious of what you're doing and, like, tell yourself off for it. There's nothing else you can really do. And it does feel, I know, I'm right there with you. It feels really bad watching that guy run away from you, but, like, it's just how it be sometimes. I know I've asked this over and over again, but a comment on my rally usage, especially when I engage, would be great. I always feel awkward using rally because I never know if it's the right time. Pretty much, I know you play a lot of Mercy, just use it the same way you would use Valkyrie. It's pretty much the easiest way I can say it, because you just want to use it, like, right as the fight is starting. There is this, like, hypothetical dream scenario where you use it just before the fight initiates, so you have time to build up the rally before the fight starts, and then the fight starts, and then they have the full buffer going in, and then you have the rally benefit during the fight as well. This, in practice, is very hard to time, and it requires phenomenal reading of the situation. It's better basically just to go, fight starting, use rally immediately. That's pretty much it. Like, it's not a terribly complicated ultimate. There is the dream scenario, but, like, I wouldn't really worry about that unless you're super confident on, like, your reading of the fight. Just use it right as the fight starts. Don't need to put too much more thought into it than that. Right as the fight starts, pop rally. Ideally, you know, like, right before it starts, right as it starts. There's a difference of, like, a second or two, usually. It's not a huge deal. Just right as the fight starts. It'll never flip the momentum of a fight back in your favor. It's just not that kind of ultimate, so you just want to use it as soon as you can in the fight, so that you gain the momentum from it, rather than trying to retake the momentum with it, which is very hard to do with an ultimate like Rally. And then the last one. How should supports position on Rialto? I hate this map with a passion because I feel like no position is ever safe. True. Extremely true. It's just really hard. Like, first checkpoint, like, the best you do is pretty much, like, the four, like, pillars, like, a little bit behind where the camera is right now. You pretty much, like, that's pretty much the best place you can stand, like, while the fight's happening in roughly that position. And then you slowly retreat back to the archway for the actual checkpoint as you lose ground. And, like, that's it, really. Standing, like, in the hall, like, before your fight gets here, you stand a little bit more, like, in the hallway rather than, like, at the corner is safer, but, like, that's kind of it. Second checkpoint, like... The thing is with the second checkpoint is you pretty much have to be willing to concede a lot of ground really early on that point, because everything before the archway is unfathomably difficult to defend. It's to the point that it's just not realistic to even try, as far as I'm concerned. The archway is really what you get, in which case, standard practice, in which case you're just trying to stand, like, around the corner behind the archway, out of their line of sight as much as you can. And yeah, it's not terribly safe because there's like a bunch of ways they can go around. The thing is with Rialto is that, like, the first checkpoint's really the worst one, where, like, because there's just this giant open kill box area where there's just, like, really no good place to stand. You pretty much just take the best that you can get. And, like, you're just kind of fucked on that one, really. But the thing with Rialto is that there are a lot of different ways people can go on this map. They're not usually all used, but they are used frequently enough that you just have to be, like, watching a bunch of different places, pretty much. Because, like, first checkpoint, you have to watch the main alleyway. You have to watch the alleyway right next to us. You have to watch the second floor of the hotel. You have to watch the door at the back on the first floor of the hotel. You have to watch on the right-hand side for people going all the way around the hotel. And then they might come out from the first floor behind you in the archway, or they might come out from the second floor on the archway instead. And then also, if they have somebody flying, they can jump fully over this roof right here as well. Like, the skybox on this map is really fucking high. So if they have flying characters, it's even worse. So that's the main thing with Rialto as far as positioning goes for me, is that you just have to be, like, really aware of all the various routes people can take to get to you, because there's actually quite a lot. And on the second checkpoint as well, you've got the main doorway. You've got the doorway going through the lobby that connects on the backside of the arch. You have the second floor in there that goes above on the staircase behind. Then you've got the archway. They could go up into that archway and shoot down at you from the archway. There's the door on the right side of the archway as well that you go up to from the canal front, and then you go around. You got that way. And then there's also the route that is quite rarely taken, I find, but, like, then on the right side, coming off the bridge, you can jump around the backside of the lobby over the wall. So again, there's, like, a lot of different ways you have to be aware of. So a lot of, like, the positioning for me as a support on Rialto is, like, looking at the enemy team and thinking to yourself, what are the most likely things that they're going to do? And then positioning according to that. And then adjusting to it based on what I see them doing in the game as well, right? Because early on, first round starting and you're defending. Attacking, you kind of take what you can get attacking on any map, right? But defending, like, early on, you pretty much worry about the main path and then this route behind us, because those are the two most likely ones. Like, a flanker is going to come around this way, a diver is going to come around this way, maybe a long-range DPS will come this way to, like, try and catch an Ana that's, like, asleep or something. So you worry about them, and then when you figure out what the enemy team is after the round started, you can sort of, like, zero in on the routes they're most likely to take at that point, and then play around that as much as you can. Because if they have a team that's, like, really flanker heavy, or is good at abusing long lines of sight, then you have to be more aware of this route behind us, because that's the route that flankers and long-range people like to take, just to try and, like, catch people on an off angle as well. So standing, like, on the little raised part behind us gets a little scarier because it's very close to this area right here. So if you think they're super likely to take this, you might be better off positioning more to the right side of the wall over there, like sort of around the corner next to the hotel, or all the way back like in the arch if you're playing a support that can get away with that, like Anna or Baptiste. But if they have like, suppose just like a pretty standardy like Rhine Zarya Ash Soldier, you have to worry about this side a little bit, but what you have to worry about more is the second floor of the hotel, because they're going to want to try and take control of the high ground as much as they can. So what actually is really good if you're worried about the second floor of the hotel is standing right under the balcony, because the people that are stood on the second floor of the hotel trying to abuse the sightlines, they can't see you under the balcony unless they have to jump down, or without jumping down. So that actually like saves you. Like, counterintuitively, by being closer to them, they can't do anything because they'd have to jump off of the balcony to see you, which somebody like Soldier doesn't want to do. And you do have to worry about like the doorway through the hotel that comes out behind you, because people still might go that way, but like that actually like protects you from people abusing high ground in the hotel. And then you can retreat back to the archway as you lose ground, and then standing in the archway again protects you from people on the balcony. So, like, that's sort of more the thing with positioning on Rialto as far as I'm concerned, is it's like you figure out what the team is and you worry about, like, which of these dangerous routes you have to worry about the most, because certain team comps, certain heroes are always going to be drawn to one of these routes more than the other. So you then know what to position around, as much as you can anyway, because again, the first checkpoint's just kind of a crapshoot in general, but you, like, that's the thing. It's about, like, you can't worry about all of these routes simultaneously because there's literally no position on the map outside of, like, your spawn that protects you from all of these locations at once. So you pick the ones that you think are most likely to be dangerous to you, and then you play around those, like, one or two as much as you can, with the acknowledgement that you still do have to keep an eye on the other ones, because even if, like, they're not likely to go, like, all the way back around you, they still might. So you still have to be a little aware of it, but, like, you, like, zero in or 102 and position around them as much as you can. You can apply this to maps that have, that, like, kind of like Rialto, where there's just, like, a lot of routes where people can come at you. But I think Rialto is, like, the most obvious example of this, because I can't think of another map offhand where the attackers have quite as many routes as they possibly could take to try and get to you. Because, like, if I was thinking Dorado for a second, yeah, like Dorado first checkpoint, because you can go under, you can go main, you can go over the roofs, you can go right, you can go round the back, you can go really round the back. Yeah, Dorado has kind of a few, but it's still not as many as Rialto, at least on the first checkpoint. Numbani has, the second checkpoint in particular, has a lot of routes where people can, harass you from. Yeah, like you can, that's basically, any map where it's like really hard to position, the reason it's hard to position is usually because the attackers have a lot of options. Now, it can be a combination, like the attackers have a lot of options on Rialto, and the defensive positions, particularly on the first checkpoint, are just not very good. So it can be a combination of those two things, but it is usually because the attackers have a lot of options that makes defending hard, because it's difficult to worry about all of them simultaneously. So the best you can do is, like, think about the most likely routes and play around them as much as you can. And that's kind of all I have to say on that one. All I have to say when I think I was talking about that one for a good 10 or so minutes. I think that was it. That was the last numbered question, but let me just read the notes at the end, just to mention. I did play a lot of Brig, you are correct, I'm sorry, but, I think overall I just want to know if Brig is still a viable pick or if she is truly dead. I don't think she's quite fully dead yet. I do think there are positions she's decent in, but she's really close. She's really close to being pretty dead at this point. Like, if they nerf her again, it's pretty much over, dude. Like, if another, like, non-trivial nerf shows up, it's over for Brig at this point. She's, like, right on the edge as far as I'm concerned right now, but, Yeah, I don't think she's fully dead, but she is, like, really, really close. So anyway, that's all the questions in the email. That's all I got to say about them, so thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you felt I answered your questions from the email inadequately, please let me know, and I will try to expand further. If you haven't already, you can join Discord, ask questions more directly, have a conversation about them, or do a shit post of this. I've started streaming on Twitch Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 p.m. EST to 11 EST. There's a link to the channel in the description. And if you managed to make it all the way through the video and somehow still enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future. And I hope you found the video helpful.